Hello and welcome to Ecoholics Heart to Heart with Toppers. Our guest for today is the Indian Economics Service selected candidate Pragya. Welcome to the show, Pragya.
Thank you so much, sir.
We hope that you could let a little secrets out now once you have selected. Since you have emerged victorious in this long examination, which must have tested your patience and the endurance.
Yes.
So, Pragya, students want to understand that once the result out yesterday night, what was the first reaction? Like, what was the result checking story, the reaction of you, family, friends, etc.?
Sir, actually, the results came out very early. It was within 3 days. So,
Yeah.
We were not expecting result at that time. And since morning, I was doing pranks with my family that result aa gaya hai and mera ho gaya hai. So I did these things with my family in the morning, and then in the afternoon results were out, and I was like, oh, up to aa gaya. What I'll do? They'll not believe me कि result aa gaya and mera ho gaya hai. But I was very happy at that moment. I saw my result. One of my friend told me that results are out. We have already decided that result will be out, but nobody will tell कि हुआ नहीं हुआ, rank क्या है. You will just tell कि हाँ, results are out. So that was the thing. So I checked. I thought maybe it is a prank because it is so early. But then I checked the results and I saw my name. I was very, very happy. I was not able to sink in the news. But then after my mother was in office, I started crying. Mummy, result aa gaya. So in the first instance, she thought I am crying. Mera nahi hua. But then I told her about my rank, so she was happy, and then everybody came home. So it was very pleasant experience.
Pleasant experience. I think you just said that it's difficult to sink in, but it's now like approximately 24 hours after. You are getting believed that it's like you have to pinch yourself.
Slowly.
I got the name in the list. Yes.
Even at night, I was thinking like, "Arey, alarm lagana hai, kal jagna hai subah." Then I was, "Arey, nahi, I got in the list." So I was very happy after that.
Really. We are also very happy, Pragya, and so proud of you. So, Pragya, it would be great if we start with a brief background about yourself. Aspirants want to understand how you have started, what are the things that you have you got the motivation behind preparing for this prestigious examination, and since how many years? Like, we know each other for a long time, but since how long you've started your preparation? So just with a brief background.
I have completed my studies from Patna. So my 10th and 12th were from Carmel High School. And then my graduation was from Patna Women's College. And during that days, I came to know about Indian Economic Services. So one of our teachers, he told us about, in the class, he told us about that there is one service known as Indian Economic Service, and it is pretty hard because the vacancies are very, there are very little number of seats.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was not very sure, but I used to like reading economics, and then I came to Delhi, and my mother and my father stay here. So I came to Delhi after my studies, and then I thought maybe I should go for it. I gave my master's. I was preparing for civil services at that time. But not very sure why I want to join civil services. But I just
started preparing.
Yeah, and simultaneously I enrolled myself in masters from IGNOU. So then in that year when I was appearing for masters, I gave one attempt. So I was not able to clear the mains, but I somehow got that idea. No, I want to do this. So in 2020, I started preparing for it. In 2029,
2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2020, I got my mains cleared, but was not able to clear my prelims. The
Interview.
final interview I was not able to clear. So after that, in 2021, I was not able to give the exam because my interview date was one day before the
Exam day. Yeah, I remember that happened.
Yes, sir. So I was not, because the preparation journey is not very much same. So then I waited for 1 year. I analyzed the mistakes what I have made. Then I have given in 2022. So this is how I started and how it ended.
Yeah. So that's great. Really great. So Pragya, generally students, when they are listening to the toppers, they have some curiosity in their mind, like how many attempts did it take to get into the list? And what were the previous mistakes that you have committed in the past attempts? Now you have corrected it.
Sir, every student have different learning periods. Some take one attempt, other take two attempts. In my case, it took around 4 attempts. Yeah. Initially, I was not very serious about the examination and about the strategies, how to prepare. So first 2 attempts were not very serious. But after the second attempt, I realized, no, it is not that easy. I have to strategize and I have to do things in a better planned way. So then I strategized paper wise. First of all, I revised all the syllabus. I almost mugged up all the syllabus in my third attempt. So what are the syllabus? And then previous year question. These 2 are the Bibles.
Exactly.
So as you say. So so I went through the previous year question papers, and then I analyzed which areas are more important, because the syllabus and the questions, syllabus are like whole ocean, and the questions are typically from a particular areas. So we have to make that strategy, that which areas are more important of the syllabus, and then we can cover it priority wise, which areas are more important. We will cover it first, and then after the second, prioritize things like that.
Yes.
So and I try to keep my sources minimum. So in paper 1, econometrics part, I went with Gujarati. Initially, I am not from a mathematical background, so my IGNU books helped me a lot. The econometrics papers. In that papers, in that IGNU material, the materials are simplified. The topics are simplified. So I went through them, and then after going through those books, I went through Gujarati book. So econometrics went like that, and then for microeconomics, I read H.L. Ahuja advanced book.
Yeah.
I was not very good at math, so I thought let's not very much be obsessed with paper 1 and focus too much on paper 1, because the weightage is of 200 marks, and the rest papers have more weightage.
Obviously, in total 600.
Yes, sir. So I decided I will focus on the theory parts, which are my strong part. So that I concluded in my second attempt, because in my second attempt, I got around 120 marks in my paper 4, Indian economy paper.
Great.
And in paper 1, I got 30 marks. So that was a very much variable marks.
It's a skew.
Yeah. So I decided, no, I'll focus on the theory part, which is the strong part, and it has more weightage. So I did paper 1 overall, basics and in fact in micro part, which are the theory 1, I did them. And then in paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, I prepared very religiously those papers. Like in paper 2, I have for macroeconomics, I took Freud book as a base book, and then H.L. Ahuja book for the extra readings, whatever was left from there. And then for growth and development, I went through Jhingan. And then for international economics, I referred Jhingan. Everybody says Dominic book is good, but I have never went through that book because I have read Jhingan, international economics. So I went through that book only. For financial economics, I Googled a lot of terms like what are derivatives, different types of derivatives, options. I have done it through internet, and I have referred IGNU books for financial market, some of the topics, not all.
Yeah.
And for paper 3, it was more of IGNU syllabus. So I covered it from IGNU books. Like for environmental complete dependence, so I completely dependent on IGNU. And then for public finance also, I went through IGNU books. And there was one book, R.K. Lekhi's book. I referred that book also. For industrial economics, I referred H.L. Ahuja.
That micro covers that majorly.
Yes, that micro covers that. And for planning and development, again, that Jhingan book.
Okay.
So paper 4 was my strength. So I more or less relied on that. I went through Mishra and Puri, and then Mishra and Puri was my base book. That was my Bible for paper 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then I have also read Uma Kapila for some some of the tricky, you can say tricky lines, or some of the notes or something very catchy lines. I took it from there. And then I also referred Vision IS Current Affairs for that. I taken all the data from there.
Yeah.
And economic surveys data also were used by me. So this is how it went. And for in English, I did not prepare very much for that. I have been reading newspaper since last year, so newspaper was enough. For GS papers, the papers I covered basic books, NCRTs of all the subjects. For modern history, I went through Spectrum, because Spectrum is a better book for that. And Vision IS materials also, I refer that. So this is how it went.
This is how it. So Pragya, it's very important to refer to authentic sources, but if it comes to all the books that you don't have to read from cover to cover, I hope you have just skimmed through all those topics mentioned. But after reading all those books or referring all those books, what I say, how did you make notes? Like, what was your note making strategy? Did you make any, or like, were you making notes digitally, or maybe pen paper? What was your strategy?
Sir, I used pen paper notes because making digitally notes were not very convenient for me, given the diagrams I had to make. And again, we have to practice diagrams. So why to do it digitally and then again practice it? Yes. I practiced it during my notes making session, and I made short notes. I tried to cover one subject in around 10 to 15 pages, because last moment revision happens from that note.
Yes.
So, and I had one, I can say, I have read those books so many times, given my last attempts. I had given so many attempts. So I already read so many times. So I made very short notes. One book around 10 pages, and that was it. That was enough. Even in for Indian economy section, I only wrote the data, only data, no causes, no conclusions, nothing. I did nothing on that because you know what are the causes, what are the suggestions. Yes. You only we need to make it more attractive. The answer should be more attractive, and I think data's work in that sense. Even I have made graphs in paper 4. Of the data I have seen in newspaper, that they make graphs out of the data. So I tried to use that. Like this year, I just made some rough diagrams of the data.
Yeah.
So I think that helped me for getting
this.
marks in paper
Yes.
4.
Yeah. See, Pragya, I understand that it's difficult to complete the syllabus because it's very dynamic and it's ever like evolving and never ending kind of a syllabus. But if
Yes.
we talk about like how much time it took to you to complete the syllabus once or went through the syllabus once, and what was your revision strategy after completing the syllabus?
Sir, I think those who are doing it for first time, I think 6 months are more than sufficient. And if they are
Okay.
not working professional and they are student reading full
Yes.
time, studying full
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
so 6 months is more than sufficient. And then after that, we can switch to answer writing. Like in my this preparation, this journey,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
already covered the syllabus. So what I did, I went through the question papers and then I prepared according to the question papers. Like if there is mercantilism theory, so I'll see the paper, then I'll go through my notes or the books, whatever I have read. So I did that way, and I think that helped me a lot, because whenever when you read it from books now, it's very difficult to what part I have to focus on. But
Yes.
when I went through the question papers, I knew that in this section I have to read these things. So and then I read the books in that manner.
True, true.
So
Totally understandable. And you were very honest in telling those things to the aspirants, future aspirants. So, Pragya, we know that reading is just one part. I would say the answer writing is another half of a written
yes,
examination, and maybe more than the half of it, because it's not you representing the exam; it's your copy representing you in
yes,
the for those 1,000 marks. So, what was your strategy of answer writing? Like, what kind of techniques that you have followed? Were you writing one answer per day, or a full test on a weekends, or how many tests you were writing? So, what was exactly the answer writing strategy?
Initially, I started writing one or two answers daily.
Yes.
Like initially, I used to give very detailed explanation. X axis represents this, Y axis represents
Yes.
that. So and then I learned how to just summarize the graphs.
Yes.
So I learned. Then
Utilize that
after that,
limited space. Yeah.
yes, sir. So initially, that was the writing strategy, and then when I completed the paper, then I started doing the past year papers. I did it from the past year papers. I sat one day, I completed one
Yeah.
paper, set 3 hours time limit, and sometimes I was not able to like I did it for 1.5 hours, and I felt that no, I don't feel like writing that day, so I didn't push myself
Yeah.
too much. I just given 1.5 hour, and half of the paper I completed in that time frame. So somehow speed was managed like that. So that was the
That's
second writing
yeah. That
strategy.
was. So, Pragya, one last question from the written exam. Then we'll move on to interview. Now, you know that the exam is physically tiring. It's for 3 days, writing continuously for 6 hours. How did you manage that? What was your exam ritual, exam day ritual? What you did in the gap of 2 hours between two papers? What you did like after completing the day one, day two? What kind of things you were doing?
Sir, I tried to complete my syllabus before 5 days before the
Yeah.
examination, because I knew that the 3 days, 4 days paper will be very tiring for me. So I completed the syllabus, and the last 5 days I did nothing, no study, nothing. I relaxed. I slept. I checked my sleep cycle. It should be
Yeah.
normal.
True.
So I did that. Then even some students do, they get up early and then they study.
Yeah.
Even in the break times they study. I did not do anything like that. So I went to the examination hall. I have given the paper, and even this year my paper one was not so good. I left so many questions unattempted, and I was very sad that moment, that no, I think इस बार भी नहीं हो पाएगा.
Pragya, we talk about interview. after getting your name in the list, how did you think about interview? How if I say, if you have to analyze your interview, how it went, what kind of question board asked, or what kind of answers you gave, and were you satisfied with that?
Sir, this was my second interview, so I was
Yeah.
not very much scared. But I had that feeling कि paper one अच्छा नहीं गया है, so I have to score better in
Good.
interview,
Yes.
so that थोड़ी बहुत जो marks इधर उधर है might be it get managed
Compensate.
somehow.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It might get compensated. So I was not very anxious or scared, but yeah, I had that thing in my mind. So I continuously read newspapers, uh, and I have given mock interviews. Even Ecoholics has helped me a lot in my mock interviews.
My next question is related to what happened in the interview. Now, Pragya, it has been a long journey since you have been telling us that it's a long journey and it requires a lot of patience. What extra you have done for like to develop your mental health, to become physically fit, to keep that patience? You must have seen highs and lows during this preparation. How did you like manage to get motivated throughout the journey, and how you manage that mental pressure?
Sir, first of all, I have closed all my doors. I have not let any options speak into my mind that अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो ये कर लेंगे. So I didn't have any option. So I had to do it at any cost.
Yes.
So my friends, my family, but my support system.
You got that booster dose like once in a
Yes.
while.
Yes. And even sometimes I used to write journal to my future self.
Okay.
That's why I didn't give up and why I should not give up. So these were some of the motivational factors in my life.
That's really interesting. From your that journal thing, if I would say that those, if I say Pragya wants to share some secrets to clear this exam, maybe those secrets obviously requires hard work, smart work, whatever it is. But for those who are listening to this interview or the talk show, anyone who is preparing for 2023 or further attempt, what are the two most, three most, or five most, whatever you have in your mind that you would like to share with them? What will be those things?
Sir, I would say firstly, you have to bluff the examiner with your answer sheet. The examiner doesn't know your personality. Maybe you are not so much good in your studies. Maybe you're not from a very academic background. Maybe you're from very humble background. He or she doesn't know that. You have to bluff him or her with your answer qualities. So some of the cheat codes are there, like have so many datas and not useless datas, but some authentic and some pure datas. There are some universal data like sectoral shares of GDP, employment share, sectoral share in employment, inflation rate, unemployment. It can be used in any answer. These are some of the universal data. So we can learn those data, mug up those data, and we can use it in our answers. And for graphs also. And in theoretical paper, I used to give real life examples. So try to, if you are sitting somewhere in your home or you are in market, you just sit down and see if you can connect economics to those things, and you will get some of the we used to get some of the examples. So datas, examples, and underlines. I think underlining the answers is one of the best cheat code. So underline the answers and some of the good keywords or key sentences. Yeah, like I have read in Upa Kapila that if women's participation is increased by 50%, GDP will go up by 5%. Like, not exactly, I'm not able to know, but
the correlation between two data,
yeah, these types of lines like open laws.
Yes.
So we can use these types of lines. Even we get in newspapers and other. There are many sources from where we can get these lines. So you can use that answer in that role answers. So these are the cheat codes.
Please. Thanks, Pragya. And I think, my dear student, those who are listening, she's telling absolutely honestly what she has done. So it's just not like you have to do read a lot of books from cover to cover the whole syllabus, do unlimited answer writing and something like that. You just do simple task, syllabus, PYQs, answer writing, and revision. I think that summed up the great thing. At last, Pragya, if you have few words for Ecoholics team, it might be conveyed and up their spirit. So if you have anything to share.
Yes, sir. I have taken one course from Ecoholics. It helped me clarifying my conceptual clarity. I'm not very good in math, so it helped me do that. And even in mock interviews, the questions were very relevant, and it helped me to gain some analytical aspects and strategize my preparation, especially of interview. How to answer in point wise, not to keep nagging on one particular topic. So all these helped me a lot. Even you were always available there. Once I didn't get the feedback, and then I I texted you. I remember. So you were
Yes.
very, very, very fast to respond to that message. So everybody was available.
Thank you so much, Pragya, for taking out time in these times of celebration. As I said,
Thank you so much.
we wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors. Make
Thank you so
our
much.
country proud as an economist. All the best.
Thank you, sir.